Yep, that's the rumor anyway. We'll see
That's
if
what
that's
they say. That's what you
we'll
tell
see.
the cops anyway, right?
Right, right.
Anyway, with me today is Eli Mosley, country music artist. Got three releases out now, right? Well,
Yeah,
one's
yeah.
just about to come out. So you had an EP came out first, right? In was that 2015?
Yeah, we had an EP come out in 2015. Hang on, I got to stop for my glamour shot. All right,
All
we're
right,
good. Yeah. All right, there. Now
good,
we're rolling. Okay. Uh,
cool.
it's that Hallmark thing,
Oh,
There's always that stare that's awkwardly long.
you got to do it.
Yeah, you got to do that, and so it happens every time you enter. Anyway, I'm learning. Anyway,
It makes you seem mysterious.
right.
I feel
All
creeped out
right.
already.
Yeah, I would if I were you. Anyway, so we've got yeah, I'd released an EP back in 2015, and that had 5 songs on it, 4 of which were original songs, and one was a cover of Jackson by Johnny Cash and June Carter. And then we had in 2017 we released a second EP, which is 7 songs long, and we've got that was all original songs we'd written on there, and that was actually really fun because I was able to kind of create the album that I always wanted to create, which was a super kind of '90s country sounding album, and got got that kind of foundation laid for our music there. And then we've been working hard the last 2 years, and finally just released this 10-song full length album about 2 weeks ago. So,
Which we'll talk about that more, but I want to tell you right now, I love it already.
well, I
It's
appreciate it. Thank you.
man, the songs are great. I don't want to get ahead of myself. We'll come back to that, but before we get too far, since a lot of people might be hearing about you for the first time, you talk about how it all started from about the time you decided this is what you wanted to do and go forward. And
Well,
get a little
yeah,
history on you.
yeah, absolutely. So I was born in Bartow, Florida, just up the road here, and kind of about 6 years old, we were at the Strawberry Festival in Plant City, and we saw a guy by the name of Tracy Bird play.
I think I heard of him.
Yeah, he's got that one song,
Yeah.
and that Watermelon Crawl song, and a couple others. Yeah. Anyway, but we went and we saw him play, and I just something about that whole thing fascinated me, and I thought, man, that'd be so much fun. And as a kid, it seems like every couple of months there's something different you want to be. Well, this is the one that always kept coming back to me, and always kept coming back to me, and I just I remember fast forward to about 14 years old. I saw a guy, George Strait, actually play in Orlando.
Who?
George Strait. You've heard of him?
No.
He's new.
Is he?
He's just getting started. So, yeah, he was 2014. He was just kind of breaking through,
Okay.
and he's got a couple songs on the radio. I think he's gonna do all right, and we'll see. I mean he's no Taylor Swift, but
Maybe you can take him out on tour.
yeah, I'll think about it. Hard sell. Anyway, but so I saw George Strait play, and uh, then at that point, that kind of sealed that. That's exactly what I wanted to do, and so I went and picked up a guitar and started learning to play, and started singing and learning songs, and about see that was 2004, so go back to 2013 and you're up to I'm starting to play shows. And so we started playing. I remember our first show was we played for me and my buddy Josh played for 3 drunk people in a bar that I don't even think they knew we were there, but we were living the big life.
Yeah.
I think we played about 5 songs. Big show. 5 songs, 3 people. Record-setting attendance for us right there. And
Got to start somewhere.
hey, why not? And so from there, about that time during that time I was in school at Southeastern University for music business, and I was just getting out of the Marine Corps after 6 years. I went into the Marine Corps to toughen me up for the music business, and to learn about work ethic and drive and all that stuff. And so then I took that I learned from the Marine Corps and paired it with the education that I got from Southeastern University, went up for a semester-long program towards the end of my college time, and went to a semester-long program in Nashville called the Contemporary Music Center, where I spent a semester there working through songwriting, learning songwriting from some of the best writers in town, performance, learn stage presence, how how to entertain a crowd, how to record songs, and then we actually wound up producing that first EP that I released up there. So, um, really, that's kind of the background of what we've been doing. And ever since 2013, 2014, we've been playing every fair, festival, honky tonk, dive bar, event, grandmother's funeral, whatever that we can come up with. So it's been a really wild ride.
You mentioned military. You're from a military family, right?
Yeah, correct. My brother is actually a infantry officer with the United States Marine Corps, and he's getting ready to deploy again. And my dad was a Vietnam officer, Army Corps of Engineers. My grandfather was a pilot in World War II. So yeah, I come from a long line of military.
And that
So
would explain. Military theme pops up every now and then in your music.
yeah, and it's something that I feel is I mean it's near to my heart, and I've got not not only is it just about me, but about the guys and girls I served with. So
And jumping ahead again, this song, "Soldier's Wife."
I haven't even seen this thing. Let me
Man,
see this.
that's a great,
This
song.
looks awesome. Let me see what they did here. This is cool.
Yeah, that's the.
Well, look
For
at
those
that.
of you watching, this is the Amazon manufactured version of Eli's upcoming CD.
Oh, this is
This
cool.
is the first time you're seeing it?
I've never seen this
Well,
before.
that's what. There it is.
I like it.
You want me to sign it for you?
Would you please? No way. Look at this. I didn't know you had all this stuff in here. Oh, this is so cool.
Well,
Oh
that's what-
man, they did a good job on this thing. This is neat.
In case anybody's wondering what the deal is here, Amazon apparently has a new thing. I didn't know about it, but you order the CD from them, they manufacture it as the orders come in. They don't have 10,000 of them on the shelf. You order from Amazon, they burn you a copy, and it looks just like a store-bought copy to me.
It does.
Apparently, he's satisfied with it.
I mean,
so
yeah, it doesn't have all the additional artwork that we have on the ones we're
the
making in
official
house.
ones.
But this is cool. This gets the job done nicely.
All right, before we get too far away from your history, we were talking about it before we went live. Your your life as a missionary's son. Yeah, I thought about
A
doing
little
that.
product placement there.
So
Buy the
tell us a
album.
little bit about that.
Well, so about 8 years old, my dad comes home. Well, I was 8. He wasn't 8. I was 8. Very,
early.
very. About 8 years old, my dad comes home and he says, "Hey, we're keep in mind, I'm a Bartow, Florida kid. I'm used to being able to ride my bike around the town as a 6-year-old, 8-year-old, whatever. Me and my brother. That's something we were talking about that. We're going to rabbit trail a little bit here, but the other day we were talking about. I remember with my brother being able to ride all over the town of Bartow, 5, 6 miles away. He's 9, I'm 6. What could possibly go wrong?
Mm-hmm.
You can't go past around the street. I was talking to a neighbor later the other day, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm probably the most daring of all the parents out here. Let my kids actually go have some free reign." I said, "How far do you let them go?" "About that fourth house down there." "Really? Man, we used to be able to just disappear
Yeah.
and back by dark.
I remember those days. I used to do it too.
That's crazy. And now you can't even. Yeah. Anyway.
And when my kids were young, if they were in the front yard, I was on the porch watching them.
Yeah.
Just because even in your own yard, you can't turn your back on your kids the way things are. It's a shame. It's the way it is now.
Absolutely. So, where were we? Bartow.
Missionary stuff.
Missionary stuff. Right. So then we moved from Bartow to Los Angeles. Mega culture shock. But we moved from Bartow to Los Angeles, and we're there. My dad takes a job as a vice president of a mission agency, and his job is the vice president of international construction, which means that we wind up going to short-term trips between 3 weeks to a month long, and we wind up going out and doing little projects here and there. And his job is to go around to all the missionaries across in the world and find out what do they need, where do they need stuff built, do they need a church, do they need a house, do they need a well, do they need farms, do they need airstrips, do they need roads, what do they need? And then we would go out and facilitate that. Well, with that, I got to in 4 years, my dad went to 90 countries, and I 89 countries. I went to 49. So
Hope you were getting frequent flyer miles.
oh yeah. I think we're still using some of those freaking
I
flyer
bet.
miles. But anyway, so yeah, so I got to see the world. I got to see places that people would just wouldn't even think are real. I was talking to a guy the other day, and you could see it in his eyes where he was like, "This guy is a pathological liar." And he was like, "I'm not buying any of this." I was like, we've been to villages where they are still making their weapons. Their bows and arrows are made out of palm fronds and grass for the strings. I mean, it's just insane the amount of stuff that's still going on in the world today. How far back
Mhm.
people are. We've been to ancient burial grounds in Machu Picchu in Peru. We've been to Maasai villages in Africa. We've been to cannibal villages in Papua New Guinea. We've been to um, you know downtown New Delhi in India. Um, I couldn't find a deli in Delhi, by the way. I was really disappointed.
Not even a new one.
I couldn't even find a new one. I'll take an old deli in New Delhi. I didn't care. I just couldn't find one. I was really disappointed in that
So
fact.
what about cannibals?
But I want to point out that we did buy a tie. I got a tie in Thailand.
I would imagine you get one anywhere in
Oh
Thailand.
yeah, but you had to get it. You had to get a tie in Thailand. I mean, come on. You're gonna do this. Let's do this thing.
So what do you get in Laos?
I don't know. I'm gonna try to avoid that. It's a lousy time, I guess. I don't know.
All right, let me ask. So what about cannibals? Do they eat anything besides people, or is that a misnomer? Do they eat vegetables and stuff?
Oh
Do you
yeah,
have any idea?
absolutely.
Did you eat with cannibals?
No, not at all. I don't want to stay around for dinner time.
I guess that's a scary time, especially if they like white meat.
Right? Yeah, exactly. We're out. Sorry. Bye. Um, it, it was just one of those things where you see missionaries come in, and my dad has gotten the opportunity to interview and talk to people that are now pastors of churches over in back villages that are from that village, grew up, and he was talking to one pastor that said, "Hey, see that mountaintop up there? I killed a guy about 5 years ago, cut him up, brought him home, and we ate him.
Hmm.
He was a warrior from the neighboring village."
So you asked him what it tasted like.
And I did not. Nope, you don't.
He would have said chicken.
You probably, I hope not. Uh, on that note, there's a restaurant in Kenya called, it was anyway, I don't know if it's still open. It's called the Carnivore,
Really?
outside of Nairobi, and they have all the game animals from the from the safari reservations, and so water buck, zebra, gazelle, crocodile, all sorts of stuff. It was really cool.
Wow. So
Weirdest meal I've ever tasted in my life, but awesome.
do you ever use any of that stuff to write songs? I mean, does it ever?
I
come
don't know.
up?
I don't know how many country music fans could relate to eating a gazelle, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know that
Or
that's
going to Thailand for a Thai? That's not
yeah,
too
yeah.
country.
Well, but well, I will tell you the one thing that makes me unique with applying all that is that I oftentimes have a better understanding of um how poor the world actually is. And so I have a different perspective because I've seen all that. I've been to Haiti and I've seen the people that live off of $1 a day, and the people that don't live off of $1 a day. And it allows me to basically see the world through a very different lens. And when we get frustrated on the road, or we get tired, or we get whatever, I oftentimes when I'm at my wit's end, and other artists are hanging it up, I get to sit there and I'll think, man, at least we have a van, and we're driving down the road, and I'm asleep in my bunk in the back of this van. And sure, that show didn't go great, or that radio stop wasn't everything we hoped it to be, or the show got rained out, or we had car trouble earlier. But man, we have more than they ever did. And
Amen to that.
I also one of the big reasons why I'm doing country music is because there is frankly a lot of money in country music. Not a lot of money for me, but a lot of money to be able for me to take that and give that to build wells in Africa where they don't have water, and keep people alive, and to be able to pay for buy chickens and a goat and stuff like that. And it all starts on a little scale here. So I remember one time my mom asking me, she said, well, do you give to things like that? And I said, I was a teenager. I said, no, but I can't wait to be able to start. She goes, if you don't do that now, whatever makes you think that you're going to do that when you have $5 million in the bank account? Because I'm going to be looking at that new Lamborghini that just came out. I don't want a Lamborghini, but you get the idea,
Yeah.
or that new multi-million-dollar house, as opposed to, okay, how many people could a house that's worth $2 million, how many villages could that keep alive? How many people could that feed? And so that's the reason, that's a calling. That's why with me, when times get hard, we don't hang it up. We don't quit. We don't give up. We keep going because it's more than a me thing. And I think honestly, to do this, there's got to be another reason to do this music thing, because every time somebody starts going into music for money or for themselves, it's only a matter of time before they realize there's a lot easier ways to make money. And so, excuse me. So there's that's kind of the motive, is to be able to help people, be able to take that money from the shows and from this and from that and the CD sales and the royalties and all that we get, and push that and help people and further people. And that doesn't always go necessarily too far out. Sometimes it's as simple as hurricane relief here. I'm reaching out to several organizations and stores and people like that back up in Lakeland, saying, hey, when Florida gets hit with a hurricane, we've got a van, we got a trailer, we got able-bodied people. We need, these supplies, and we'll have a relief team from the Eli Mosley camp that'll go down and help people. And so it's kind of what we're up to.
That's awesome. And so I guess the missionary heart's never really left you, has it?
No, I don't think so. I don't think it ever will. I hope it doesn't. And one thing I do is I surround myself with people that don't let it. That's a big thing.
Keep you in check.
Absolutely.
Don't let your head get too big.
I get you will find that probably the most frustrated I get with people in my camp is if those words are ever breathed. Well, I was going to tell you, but I didn't feel it's my place. So you let me walk right into, or you let us make that bad move, or you decided that you didn't want to tell us that was a bad move. And that's when I really get frustrated with people, because I want accountability, constant accountability. I want people that are not afraid to say, hey, you're being dumb right now. Don't do that. Go this way. And I tell that to my producers, my musicians, my road crews, my everything, because I want that continual accountability, checks and balances, whether it's a style of music or a guitar part or the way we're handling something. It doesn't matter what it is.
And we've got it on tape now.
I know.
So
Hold me to it.
You're
Do it.
stuck with it now. I want to make a comment quick. It's a little bit of a rabbit trail too, but you brought it up, and I agree 100%. You said about missionary work changed your perspective, and you saw how poor the world was. This is a bit of a tangent, and we're going to get a little bit political for a second.
That's all right.
Personally, I think that everybody in this country, every citizen should have to serve a minimum military service. I didn't know what shape the world was in, and I was in the military, and I went overseas and saw people eating out of garbage cans in other countries. And you say, we're spoiled. This country is definitely spoiled and has a sense of entitlement. Till you get outside of this country and see how the other half lives, we're lucky to have most of what we have.
I don't even think it's the other half. I think it's the vast majority. And I don't think it's political as much as it's just common sense.
I think just common
sense. When it comes down to, I don't know what that term would be. I think that bare minimum, I think a lot of the stuff that we could fix could happen just in going to boot camp. If everybody right out of high school had to spend that summer at a boot camp, just
learn respect.
Yep. Here's your diploma. There's the bus.
I agree.
And yeah, I know that's like, people are going, oh, that's like a military state type of a thing. Not really. I just think our country has vastly lost the respect for authority. I really do. Mm-hmm. I learned that when I was on a ride along when I was a criminal justice major for the first year of college. I went on a ride along with a sheriff's officer. Pulled over a car, and he got up and said, afternoon, and the guy just started cussing him out. And I was like, I couldn't imagine doing that to one of my drill instructors. I'm sorry. That's
I've seen it on YouTube. There's a guy that makes YouTube videos. He gets pulled over, he has his camera on, and he just every word out of his mouth is an F bomb, and he's insulting the cop, his mother, and he's saying everything he can to try to get the cop to react. And that's entertainment these days.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
All
But
right, so we went down a little bit of a rabbit trail,
yeah,
but it was good,
yeah.
interesting stuff. You led a pretty full life for a man your age. I don't know how old you are, but
29 just recently. But yeah, it's oftentimes people don't believe the stuff that's happened at this point in my life. Um, I mean, come on, Marine Corps, 49 countries, excluding the Marine Corps. I never traveled with the Marine Corps. So 49 countries, the Marine Corps, college degree, touring the country, doing country music now. I mean, it's borderline impossible, unbelievable. The stuff that I've been blessed to be able to pull off in the last 29 years of my life.
and in there, in between all that, when you're not doing any of that stuff, you're pretty much on the road all the time, either performing or promoting or doing something.
Yeah, we're either on the road or prepping for the road. You know, we've got a few. I'll be in California here for the next couple of weeks, but we got a few months coming up where we're kind of off tour, if you will, and so I'll be spending some time with the family and just doing all that legwork prepping for it.
So how are things going with radio stations? I know you do a lot of radio tour where you just visit radio stations.
Yeah, yeah. It's that's a very interesting part of it because there's kind of this catch-22 of a lot of radio stations you can't get on because unless you're signed to a record label. Well, you can't get signed to a record label unless you're on radio stations. So you get this catch-22 going on. So we started with the small radio stations, and you know what's interesting is you'll see radio when they start playing your song, it really starts building in that area. And we've seen radio stations play our singles, and then we'll come to a show there, and you'll just be shocked at the turnout and the fact that everybody's singing along. You know, we did a show this weekend for a radio station that was doing a listener appreciation concert, and we were playing the listener appreciation concert, and we showed up, and there were 3,800 people there.
Wow.
And you're just like, wow, the power of them playing our songs every day, over and over and over again, and people knew the songs. People love the songs.
What do you think? Which one do you think is getting the most exposure? If I had to guess, I'd say St. Augustine, but
St. Augustine was definitely. We've been putting a lot of singles out recently. So you know, St. Augustine, we kind of rode that for about 6 months to a year. We've been putting a lot of singles out recently, kind of building hype. So they haven't been able to get as much traction because we're building hype and then moving to the next single and building the next single. The next one we're gonna drop is a song called "Where Do You Go." It's off this album.
yeah, I love that song.
And that's gonna be one we're gonna push for a long time. And so I think we're gonna see some serious numbers on that one.
You know, I'm anxious to talk about that, but I'm still trying to put the brakes on to do a little more background and stuff, let people get to know you a little better. But that CD is just packed full of songs I can hear on the radio.
Well, I appreciate it. That was the goal. That was the goal of the thing.
And again, I'm going to have to put the brakes on myself because I don't want to get too far ahead. I want to save that for the next segment because we're running down a little bit here. But I want to mention, among other things, you've got an endorsement with Takamine, right?
Yeah, Takamine Guitars. They partnered up with me. They take care of me. It's amazing. I'm able to call them and be like, hey, I need this for the road or this for the road, and I had to replace a part on one of my guitars, and normally that's about a 3-week wait for that part. And the guy goes, well, what's your address? And I was like, I gave my address, and the next morning, I hear the doorbell ring, and here, sign this, and it was literally there, like at 10 o'clock the next morning. I called him at like 6 o'clock that night or 5 o'clock that night.
Is that a difficult process? I mean, how did you come to get endorsed?
Honestly, I'm going to tell people that I have so many people ask me this, and it just boils down to companies can read right through you if you are, if you don't really love. Everybody goes out for endorsements. They go endorsement hunting because what they hope for is they hope that they can get endorsed by a company, and that company will either give them free stuff or pay them to use their stuff. Well, Takamine has never paid a single dime to an artist. So that kind of leaves you with, they can supply you with stuff or they will supply you with stuff. But in this case, I literally called them and said, look, I'm just trying to get my hands on these certain model guitars. How do I do that with and they said, well, you could be an endorsed artist. Okay, cool, let's talk. And basically they just saw that one guy over at the company just saw that I was seriously in love with their guitars. And he would throw stuff out, and like he was like, oh yeah, I have a Takamine that's basically a copy of a Martin D28, and it's pretty much the same thing from 1994. And I was like, yeah, it's an EF360. He's like, how on earth did you know that? And I was like, I'm telling you, I love your guitars. And pretty much if a company sees that you truly love their product, that's when it starts to happen. But they're very leery towards artists doing that, because artists just in general are like, oh, we're just looking for endorsements because we can get free stuff, or you pay
Right.
us or whatever. So Takamine just saw that I was I was already advertising for them. They knew that I absolutely loved their guitars, and I was in it for the long haul.
Cool. Well, before we get on to anything else, let's take a break. What you say?
Yeah, sounds good to
We'll
me.
be back in just a minute.
Still order up that pizza we can get on Saturdays. Drive past that parking lot where we kiss the night away. Take the same old truck to the same old church the same old way. This town of memories where nothing seems to change.
So, tell us a little bit about. You were telling me about your Country Music Hall of Fame experience.
Yeah, it was fun. Got invited by the Country Music Association to go up and have lunch with Brooks and Dunn and Ray Stevens and whatever Hall of Famers are going to be up there for the induction this year. And that was a really interesting experience, because I walk in and we sit down, and all of a sudden there's a guy in a wheelchair behind me as I'm walking down to my table, and I sit down real quick and look, and the guy in the wheelchair is Randy Travis, getting pushed by Jamie Johnson, and they sit at the table across from us, and I'm just going, okay,
Wow.
this is how this lunch is going to go right here. Okay, that's interesting. So we, and then I go sit down, and we go up and get our food, and we sit down a few minutes later, and I look behind me, and the table behind me is Ricky Skaggs, the Oak Ridge Boys, Statler Brothers, and I'm like, oh, okay,
Some heavyweights, huh?
I mean, and you're in a room of about 75 people. I mean, it's not like you're in this grand ballroom. You're in a room about 75 people, and you have a dozen Hall of Famers in there. But I got the opportunity to talk to Kix Brooks for a while.
And you're big fans of theirs, aren't
Oh
you?
yeah, Brooks and Dunn, huge fans of Brooks and Dunn, and Kix came down and just started chatting with me. Hey, you look like an artist. Started talking about, he had kind of been emphasizing this whole time he was in his Q&A session about how hard it is to do this, and how so they make it look so easy nowadays, and how hard it actually is, and how it took him 15 years and given up several times on the whole getting signed to a label thing, and he finally got to they paired the two of them together, and they took off and had 20, 30 number ones, and but he was always talking about the struggle on the road, and how every time they felt like it was their last song they were going to put out, and the label was going to drop them, and so they worked so hard out of survival. But it was just really, really cool to sit down, and we talked. And what was really neat about Kix was that he talked to me on my level and acted like he was there with me. And like
So
I was,
he mumbled a lot and was incoherent.
oh yeah, right. Wow. But no, it's funny was he was sitting there, and he was telling me, he said, he asked me, well, how are you traveling? And I said, well, we just graduated from a crew cab truck to a Sprinter van with 6 bunks in it. And he's like, dude, that's so cool. And like kind of gives this little side hug, and he's like, congratulations, man, I'm proud of you. He's like, I remember those days. And I was just like, all right, this is really cool. He was talking to me. He was talking to me on just like a peer level, and it was so cool to see that. So a moment I'll never forget. Definitely.
Yeah, I bet.
And got to talk to Ray Stevens, Ricky Skaggs, Randy Travis. Just incredible. So to be invited to something like that from people that in Nashville, that's pretty awesome. And then between that, we've been working on our shows and touring schedule across the Southeast U.S., and I'll actually be flying out to California here for a couple weeks to play shows out there. And so it's amazing to see this thing continue to grow and get bigger and bigger and bigger.
I want to interject here for some of the people who haven't seen you. I've seen you, I think, 3 times now in concert.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, well, somebody had to fill the seats.
Wow. How much did we pay you for that? Did you get your check for the last time you were there?
Last check bounced.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
But anyway, for anybody who has never seen Eli's show, it's high energy. The very first time I saw you, I thought, this reminds me of a Garth Brooks show.
Oh,
Just
that's
the
good.
energy. You guys move
That's good.
around a lot. You look like you're having a good time. A lot of bands that get up there and they look like they're waiting for the bus when they're playing. And to me, that's not really entertainment. I mean, I could get that listening to the CD.
Well, and that's the thing.
But you guys, the show is great. For anybody who hasn't seen you, I recommend you go. You're going to be in Sebring soon, right?
Yeah, we're working on a date right now, somewhere between late October to mid-November, I believe, for the album release party. So we'll be getting those details out. You can find all that information at Eli Mosley. Let's see, Facebook.com/Eli Mosley Music or EliMosley.com. So all that information will be available there. Sign up if you go to the website. We have a newsletter. We'll send you news information and updates and all that stuff, and you'll know about all that stuff well in advance. I have people who continually contact me and say, "Oh, we didn't know you were playing in my neck of the woods. Wish I'd known." And I said, "Well, did you check the Facebook page?" No. Okay, sorry.
That's
why.
why.
I'm sorry. We have so many people at this point that are following us and asking for information that we kind of have to do it all at one shot. And it sounds terrible to say that, but we just there's not enough time in the day to send everybody a personal, hey, just to let you know we're gonna be,
Right. So, will you be performing in your traditional latex miniskirt?
Yeah, absolutely,
Excellent.
absolutely. Long curly wig.
Stop.
Absolutely. You started it. Don't
Okay.
even.
Well, I'm trying to save your career now. That's a joke for all you latex people. All right. So anyway, we should talk about your new CD because, that's the fruit of your labor lately. And
Yeah,
let me grab this real quick. And
there it is.
the name of the CD is Sunday Morning Sinners. It's Eli's third release. And I can tell you personally, in my opinion, I've already told you this off the air, but this is excellent. I think this is the best thing you've done yet. To
I
me,
appreciate it.
and what I hear, what really jumps out to me, and you can comment about this if you'd like, the vocal arrangements I think are just stellar. It sounds to me like you guys worked a long time on the vocal delivery.
We did. We put a lot of time in, and there was a lot of just a lot of technique, a lot of choosing how we wanted to do stuff. It wasn't just we walked in and sang into a microphone. We thought out a lot. We spent a lot of time, a lot of hours in the studio just specifically on each line and coming out with how do we want to do all this. So,
Well, it shows. Like I told you earlier, too. What is there, 10 songs on here?
mm-hmm.
I think that at least 8 of them should be hit singles. And as a matter of fact, if you don't mind, why don't you talk about the songs? Tell us a
Okay,
little
yeah.
bit.
Well, let's start down the list here. So think about you. Think about you is a fun song. It's upbeat. It's kind of driving, kind of a windows down sort of a song. Think about you came. It was about the a lot of this album is centered around my recent divorce.
Yeah, I could tell.
On either the beginning of the whole problem or the end of the whole problem. Well, Think About You was actually supposed to be the last song on the album, but because of how well it turned out, I wanted to put it right up front, and also just to kind of up front say that everything's to follow is buried in the past, and but the idea of Think About You is that you hear so many songs about, I don't, I hate you, you hurt me, I'm never forgiving you. Well, Think About You is a song about forgiveness. It's a song about basically saying, you did me wrong. I've got some forgiveness work left to do in my heart, but what I'm doing right now is I'm choosing to think about you as a friend from the past.
Yeah.
All positive memories. I'm going to look at the times we had as just good times and ignore the bad times.
I want to tell you, when I heard it, the very first time I heard it, because I knew just a little bit that you've told me about your history and marriage and stuff. I felt happy for you when I heard that song because it sounded like, just like the song says, like you'd made your peace.
Yeah.
And you found a way to live with it, and you're happy now. To me, I even wrote this on YouTube. I made a comment on your song here. That really sounds like a song of redemption to me.
It is. It is. It's a song of, basically, and the side of it is that I haven't mentioned yet is I kind of wanted the idea was I kind of want to be able to run into her at a grocery store someday, run into her at Publix, and say and just be able to have a great conversation as old friends from the past in the aisle, part our separate ways, and to not run either of our days.
Yeah, and that's refreshing. Like you said earlier, a lot of people aren't like that. They're like, vindictive, angry, want to inflict pain and
Well,
hurt.
what is it they say? Forgiveness is as much for yourself as it is for the other guy.
Yeah.
So think about you. That was the idea of that, and it was supposed to be at the end of the album to kind of wrap up the whole idea and say, all right, I hear all this happened. Well, here's where we are now. But I love the idea of just making it a precedent for the entire album. So you move from there to Better Run. Now,
That's an old song, right?
Better Run is probably the oldest song on this album, I believe. Yeah.
Wasn't that on your EP? Or was it
no,
not?
it's never been released before. This is one we've been doing at our live, kicking around at our live shows.
That's why it sounds familiar.
Yeah,
to me.
we've been kicking this one around to the live shows for probably about 3 years now. I actually wrote it fall of 2014. We were on a bus doing a tour with that school I told you about earlier. We were doing a 2-week tour through the north central part of the country. So you're talking about, your Minneapolis and Illinois and Indiana and it was Ohio, and it was left out of Nashville and basically worked our way in a weird pattern up to Minneapolis and came back in late November. Whoever planned that clearly did not get the Weather Channel. Whatever, it's okay. It was freezing, but anyway. So I'm sitting there on the back of the bus. I had that whole back row to myself, and I pulled out my guitar and I just started writing just a cheating song, so to speak, and it turned into an anti-cheating song. And so the idea is you better, if you tick her off, you better run. And so that's just a fun song, kind of dedicated to all the girls that have ever been mistreated by a guy who just want to hear that.
Probably most of them.
Right. And so then here comes Naturally. Naturally is probably my Think About You and Naturally are probably tied for my favorites off the album. Naturally is a song, it's just a fun little love song that Anna and I wrote together with our bass player Josh and a hit writer out of Nashville. His name's Aaron Henningsen. He's written several hits for the band Perry, written several hits for Billy Currington, Sarah Evans.
You worked with him on the last album too, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, he and I wrote Stay, and then the next time we wrote Naturally, and anyway, it was kind of funny because the four of us just kind of showed up in a room, and he and I started writing the song together, and then they were Anna and Josh were sitting there, they kind of started chiming in, and then we were writing the song. We went, man, this song would be so much stronger as a duet. It was actually after we wrote it that we came up with the idea to make it a duet with me and Anna. And so it's just a fun small town love song that was, 80% better with a girl involved in it. So
I don't know how old she is. She's got a very mature voice.
she does. She's awesome. She's a huge blessing. I wish she would take the center stage a little bit more in our live shows. Do a little segment of her own in the middle. But we're working on that with her. And then probably the only song that has brought me to tears out of this whole album is the one that I did not write, and it's Soldier's Wife.
That's an awesome song.
Right? I can say that. I didn't write it.
Every military person on earth is going to be able to relate to that.
Wow. So I was at a songwriters festival in Fort Myers, and a guy that we were doing a songwriters round, and it was me paired up with this hit writer, and his name is Gary Hannon. And the year before, I'd done a writers round with a guy named John Wiggins, who's also a hit writer. What's funny is a lot of the hits that both those guys have written, they wrote together. They were the two writers on a lot of country hits, and they had written this song together. And Gary is prior South African military. I'm Marine Corps veteran, and so he and I were kind of going back and forth with these songs about military service and just I would sing a song of mine like Stay or Come Along With Me that had been on the radio, and he would sing a song that was a number one. And then I would sing another song that had been on the radio, and then he would sing a song that was a number one. And, it just went like that. He was just totally schooling me. And so Anyway, but he gets down and he goes, here's a song that nobody has ever wanted to record. I don't know why. Nobody's ever cut it. And he plays it, and it's Soldier's Wife. And he gets to this line in the second verse that says, every strange knock at the door leaves her heart on the floor. They ought to pin a medal on a soldier's wife. I had no idea. I never thought that every time that doorbell rings or somebody knocks at that door, while your husband is deployed for a year and a half, whatever it is, every time, you don't know if that's a neighbor coming over to check on you. Hey, how's it going? You want to go grab coffee? Or is that moment that you pray every day never happens? And every time. And that, I literally started just completely tearing up at that. And I'm watching him play this, and I've got to sing in 30 seconds, and I'm losing it. And that song, after that festival that week, that song stuck with me. And then the next month, it was still playing in my mind. And finally, I said, "Hey, send me a demo of that song." And he sent it to me. And about 3 months later, I could not stop playing it, could not stop listening to it, because there's all these songs about military and veterans and thank you for your service, but I've never heard one about the wives.
Right.
And I just could not believe that nobody cut that. So I said, it's time we fix that. And so I said, man, I want to cut that. And he goes, go for it. So we did. And it's turned out to be pretty awesome. I got a lot of radio traction around Memorial Day and 4th of July. And we're going to obviously, reintroduce that to people at Veterans Day. But
it's powerful.
That's an amazing song. Yeah. So, moving on from there, St. Augustine. St. Augustine's probably our biggest song we had up until recently. But St. Augustine is beach love song, kind of with a twist ending to it. Been on the radio since early 2018. We threw it at about 2 radio stations that picked it up. They spun it so much that 5 other radio stations in Florida picked it up just by hearing about it, that we hadn't even contacted them about. So then we sent it out to all the radio stations. 16 of them in the state of Florida picked it up.
Wow.
And then the next week, 15 in the Carolinas and Georgia picked it up. And then the following, basically by the time we were done, there were like 50-something radio stations playing it.
Cool.
And people just started really tracking on it. And
it's a great song, too.
It's a great summertime anthem. It just really is.
It's one of my favorite songs. Of all the songs you've recorded, that's one of my favorites.
And Chris Chodo wrote it. He's my steel guitar player. He writes a lot of songs with me. He's got let's see, off the last album we wrote I've Got a Ring together. We wrote Back to Us together. He's got Think About You on this one. He wrote St. Augustine by himself. He's got 3 more songs that we'll get to on this album that he and I wrote together. He's an incredible writer our age. Runs in a lot of big circles with a lot of writers and just is an amazingly talented guy. So anyway, he wrote that, sent it to me. I took a year and a half trying to get him to let me record it. He sent it to me in 2016. I was like, I need this song. And he was like, I'm holding on to it. And then finally he was like, fine, record it. Shut up. Leave me alone. I got to a point where I started calling him on 2-week intervals about it. And then I started calling him on 3-day intervals about it. And that's the point where he said, fine, cut it. I said, you won't be sorry. Turned out to be a really good song. Shades. Now, this is a fun song. We were in the studio, and our producer, Kip Allen, he and I were sitting in the studio while a guitar player was recording their parts, and he kind of looks at me and goes, they've got this under control. You want to go right? And I said, yeah, let's go right. So we went down the hall to another room, and he said, dude, I got this great idea for a song. I said, what is it? And he goes, let's write a song about lipstick. Really? 2 dudes in a room about the size of this one, writing a song about lipstick. Why? Anyway, and he goes, well, think about it. He said, girls have this whole little code of shades and all this stuff that they do, and what's appropriate on Sunday at church, what's appropriate in the office on Friday, what's appropriate at the club on, Saturday night, and they know all this stuff, and there's all these different makeup codes, and they go through so much effort, we should write a tribute song to them. Sure, sounds like a great idea. So we did, and that was Shades. It's probably the most poppy song I've got. It's very driving. People seem to like it.
Yeah, I was going to comment. Shows I've seen where you've performed it, you start doing that rap about
Yeah.
Maybelline and all that. People, I can hear people laughing in the audience. It's
Yeah.
like they relate, like they know
Yeah.
exactly what you're
I
talking about.
will. I will not ever rap in a song again. But it was fun while it lasted.
Got your Colt Ford
You
going,
got my
huh?
Colt Ford out of my system right there. Uh, so just need to know is one that there's a song right there that,
Man, that's a powerful song.
yeah, this is the most honest song, the most real song I've ever written. Um, I was driving up about 2 months after my wife walked out the door, and we were still in that like negotiation phase. Um, I was driving up to Nashville, and she had a whole stack of mail at the house, so I took it by her to her at her office, and just parked next to her car like I always did when I went to see her at the office. And I noticed that she hadn't unpacked a single thing out of her car. And for 10 hours driving from here to Nashville, or from Lakeland to Nashville, I drove in complete silence, just thinking to myself again and again and again, why? Why hasn't she unpacked? Why wouldn't she unpack? It's been 2 months. Why on earth wouldn't you unpack your car? Are you moving around? Are you moving again? Are you planning on coming back? She's got to be thinking about coming back. She's got to be thinking about coming back. Is this all a game? Are you just negotiating and that's why you left? What do you want? And so basically, I was just this song. I got up to Nashville, and Chris and I sat down, and I looked like I'd been drugged behind the car for 10 hours. And I said, dude, I got an idea for a song. And he goes, but the way you look, we better write it. And normally in a writing session, it's very give or take, give and take. You kind of give and take, you negotiate, you say, okay, well, I like that idea, but what if we took it this direction? And they go, okay, well, we'll compromise here, here, here. That's just kind of the way that co-writing goes. On Just Need to Know, and normally Chris and I did that, we're very good about working as a team. On Just Need to Know, I would say a line, and he would go, well, what if we, and I'd go, no, it's going to go down like this. Well, how about if we took it this? Nope. It's going down just like this. And I was so dictatorial about it. And I made sure 100% that it was going exactly like this. And then we kind of went back and revisited it and made some tweaks. And, he came up with a great melody behind it. He came up with a great musical direction for it. But as far as the lyrics, I was just very stubborn on it. I wasn't budging. So we, like I said, that's the most real song I've ever written.
See that.
And yeah, it's a very powerful one for everybody that's going through a divorce or breakup, and you're just wondering what that bottom line is. This is.
I remember you played that live. Remember in the newspaper office, and one of the girls just busted out in tears.
Oh yeah, and you could hear a pin drop when that happens at a show. Our song is the next one. This is the night that she walked out. I sat there thinking to myself over and over and over again, man. You leaving me wasn't in our song. That wasn't in the song that we weren't. That wasn't in the song we danced to at our wedding, and
I love that line.
Yeah, and so I took it up to Steve Dean, who's got hits. He's got number ones with Alabama, Reba, George Strait, Rodney Atkins, Joe Nichols. He's got tons of number ones, and he and I have been writing for a couple of years together. And he goes, it was actually the first writing session we'd had, and he says, well, what song ideas do you have? And I gave him a few ideas. He goes, what else do you have? And I said, dude, I got this one idea. It's probably dumb. I don't even know. And I told him exactly what I just said there. And he goes, dude, we've got to write that. And so we wrote this. You Leaving Me wasn't in our song. And just, how it was all so great. We were off. We were running. It was, we were headed to the beach. It was perfect. We were in love. And then you just walked out. Well, that wasn't there. I don't remember dancing to that at our wedding reception. Right. So yeah, that's the current single out on radio right now, and it seems to be doing really well. Where Do You Go is probably, in my mind, the strongest radio song on the album. Chris wrote that with another writer, a friend of his up in Nashville. He sent it to me, and it's just one of those, like St. Augustine. It's just so strong, and it's just, it's just a love song. It's asking, when you're all alone, where does your mind wander to? What are you thinking? What do you like when it's just you? What's the you that when no one else is around? And it's a really great song. I cannot wait to release that one here in a couple weeks, a couple months. Sorry, but it's a really great. That's a great single.
It's one of my favorites, but the one after it is my absolute favorite.
Really?
Yep,
Really?
it is.
That is
That surprises you.
that very.
How come? You did not like the song?
I wrote it. I wrote it alone. I was actually doing a night shift at a radio station here in Central Florida, and I was working there, and I was late at night, and it was a syndicated program that they had on, so I was just basically making sure nothing went wrong. So I went in the room next to me and kind of kept an eye on the studio and wrote this thing in probably 20 minutes, and just I don't know. It's a sweet love song. I love it. It's a great love song, but I would have thought that it's the weakest one on the album, frankly.
I like it because because it's simple and to the point.
It is.
It's not overproduced. You don't have like 100,000 strings in it or anything. It's like one guy saying what he really feels.
Exactly, and that is true. Because at the time, that's what I was doing. I was just writing from the heart. And this is the second oldest one. Next to Better Run is about a month older than this one is,
Wow.
and that's it. So yeah, that dates back to Better Run was fall of 2014 and late November 2014, and With You is early January 2015.
So when are you going to be done with probation? Kidding. Just kidding. But we're getting short on time here. Anything else you'd like to say? Anything we haven't covered?
No, I don't know, man. I mean, I love this album. I hope everybody that's listening checks it out. And I'm super appreciative of your constant willingness to follow up with us and, interview us and, all your support. I mean, honestly, this is weird because I feel like artists say this all the time to the point that it never gets taken seriously. But Sebring is our major powerhouse. They're
cool.
Hands down, we get probably the most support of anywhere out of Sebring. And we absolutely love you guys. This whole Highlands County area is just, y'all are incredible. Every time we come down to do shows, it's packed out. I know y'all are doing articles on us all the time. The radio stations here are pushing us as well. I mean, it's really an amazing thing. And that's why we're doing the album release party in Sebring, not Lakeland. Because not that we have anything wrong with Lakeland, but Sebring has showed their support time and time again, and we absolutely love you all for it.
Well, I think, like you said, if the attendance is any indicator, I think the county feels about the same about you.
Well, I love it. Thank you so much.
And I appreciate you being here, Eli.
Absolutely,
Thanks.
This has been fun.
And yeah,
we'll do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. And y'all stay tuned for more information. You really need to see Eli Mosley in concert. Appreciate him. He puts on a great show. And before we go, I got to thank David Powers. This whole thing is only possible because of him. This is his studio. This is his equipment, his expertise. All I do is sit here and run my mouth. David is the brains. Eli is the talent. So thank you all.
Thank you so much.
All right, that's it for today. Y'all be good. We'll see you next time.